Hello again. Welcome. It's editing Sean from the past. Last week I had a video that was too long. I cut it in half, which meant last week's was a bit short. This week's will be a bit longer, but yeah, let's get into it. We're going to look at the vehicles that I've seen around Philippines that are pretty cool, and hope you enjoy. Now, for the cars and vehicles and whatnot, I've been to the Philippines, a few times now, and like coming from Australia, the rules here in relation to what you can and can't do with cars are pretty strict. Yeah, like you can't have it too loud, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't make it too low, you can't have very dark tint, you can't. Everything is you can't, really. Even if you can, you probably can, and the police will still probably pull you over and send you off to get checked to make sure if you're allowed to do that, even though you are. So it's kind of a rough situation. Like if you like cars or any vehicles, really, if you like doing them up and whatnot. I don't know the rules for the Philippines, but it seems like they're not quite that level of strictness, if I'm being completely honest. I have been pulled over riding the motorbikes, like a scooter, and they're checking like that the scooter's registered and all that sort of stuff. Like they check that stuff from time to time, and there's fines and whatnot. Even if you're hiring a scooter, if that scooter's not registered and you're riding it, you're the one who gets the fine. I mean, that's sort of fair enough. It's up to you to check that, but that is the case. And I had one where in the time when I took it, it was registered, and whilst I was away, it was that the registration ended during that time that I had it, and I happened to get pulled over then, and they were going to find me, and they ended up radioing through and looking it up, and it had been renewed. And I said to them, the guy who I hired from had the new stuff. It was just that I'd had it over that time period, and I was there for an hour or two to try and sort it out, and they ended up sorting that out, luckily. Otherwise, that would have been a pretty, I don't know how big the fine would have been, but I think I remember it being like 16,000 pesos or something like that, which is not the end of the world, but it's probably $300 or $400. It's a lot. So yeah, there is some level of rules and whatnot, but also I see like cars that are rusted to almost nothing that are driving around, and motorbikes that don't even have headlights on them anymore. They look like they're from the 1920s, not quite, but they're basically bare stripped, and they're still riding them around with no helmets and nothing on them, and seems okay. You see that? They have a dude standing between the truck and the back part, pushing up the wire so it doesn't hit the truck. Hilarious. Love it. Some of these cars, like I've seen cars that look like Initial D type cars, if you've seen that cartoon or anime or whatever you want to call it, look pretty cool. The Jeepneys they have there, they've got like the big Jeepneys, like the old school sort of Jeepney bus things that they use to take people around, and you pay 15 pesos or 20 pesos to travel around in them. They're cool. They're cool on their own, and they range from modern air-conditioned type buses back to these the true Jeepney style, like the actual Jeepneys, which they just look like bare metal. Most of them, like they're like a, I don't know, some sort of chroming on it, or stainless steel sheets or something like that they're made out of, and they're pretty much open, and you just sit in the back, and they're sick. They're pretty cool. I like them a lot, but I think they're real old technology, and they're pretty bad for pollution and that. So I heard when I was there last time that they're trying to, around the Philippines, they're trying to get them off the roads and make everyone start using these air-conditioned buses and stuff, which will be nicer. Like that's better for everyone who wants to be in a nice air-conditioned bus instead of a open-air polluty sort of breathing in all the fumes thing. But it'll take a little bit of the, that gritty, old school sort of cool, funky vibe away from the Philippines if they disappear, I reckon. So that'll be sad. But the other thing I've seen when I'm riding around everywhere, not a lot, but you see, well, enough. You see these, what looks like they've had a Jeepney and then they've like chop shopped it, like they've cut it and shunt it, like, and you've got now these ones that are like, I don't know if they were made that way or if they've just cut them and remade them that way so that it's like a 4-door Jeepney with or like they've just turned it into like a, I don't know, it kind of looks like the old school army Jeeps, sort of. You'll see them here. And then a lot of other cool cars, just like really nicely sort of, considering the majority of how not well off. A lot of people are there. There's some really well done up cars, like that would have cost a lot. Like there's a red like Jeep on there, and it's a massive wheel. It looks like a mini monster truck almost. It's pretty cool. And then things like, I don't know what they call them, but it's like a there's like a four-door cab at the front, and it's with a small tray on the back, like a truck. It's a truck with the tray on the back and a four-door cab on the front. And you see quite a lot of them around, but some of them are done up and some of them are not. Like there's some which are fully rusted out, which you'll probably see there. And then there's some which are fully like really well painted, all looking nice. There's one on there that's painted up that look like a Ferrari, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty sick. Like from there, obviously, like you've got these trucks and all that. Then you've got these like, I guess they're a motorbike, a trike, sort of. Like I've seen some which were like, it's a motorbike at the front. It's definitely a motorbike at the front, but it's 3 wheels. So it's like a motorbike at the front, 2 wheels on the back. And you go, yeah, of course, that's a trike. I get that. But it's also got a tray on the back, like what those trucks had. So it's kind of like a trike truck, I guess. And then trikes, like, obviously there's trikes everywhere. So you've got families go out and buy trikes sometimes, and they'll have like, you know, they've got like not nice sides on them and all that sort of thing. And they're quite big. You could fit like, maybe you could fit 6 people in the back of it, as well as like 3 in the front type thing. I don't know what they call them. I don't think they call them trikes. I think they call them something else. But they're kind of almost like a car, but 3 seats and a bit taller. Then you've got your standard trikes that is just, you know, you see them everywhere. There's usually a motorbike which has like a sidecar type thing to it, and then that part you might fit 2 or 3 people in that part, and someone sits on the back of the motorbike. You see them all over the place. But some of those are most of them are pretty run down, but some of them look pretty well done up as well. And then there's a few other ones where it's kind of the same thing again. It's like a guy sits at the front and there's like maybe 3 seats at the back, but it's all in one type of unit, I guess. It's a different type of trike again. A lot of those get really done up. Like they have, you know, really nice paint jobs, lots of lights and stuff all over them. They're pretty cool. And then you've got, I don't know what they call them, the bicycle trikes, where it's literally some dude is just pedaling along. It's probably, I don't know how much they charge, 5 pesos per ride or something. And yeah, they just sort of, it's a trike, but it's a bicycle, not a motorbike, and they pedal along. That's kind of that. And then, well, actually, there was one time where I found this, I was riding along and I saw, it's like a race car. It's basically a trike race car. So you sit down in it, almost like a Formula One car. You sit back in it like this, and it's got 2 wheels on the back and like a wing, and it's all sleek. And you'll see the photos there. It's not clearly it's had better days, but that was pretty cool. I wonder what they are called and where they race those, or if that was just made to look like that to drive around on the street. But if they made those like that and used them to race, I'd be interested to have a look at that. So if you've seen that and you're from the Philippines somewhere and you know what that is, I'll show you it on here. There's a few photos of it. But if you know what that is, and if there's like a set of racing for that, comment about it, because I'd like to have a look at that. For me, every time I've gone over, pretty much I hire a scooter. Normally I hire like an NMAX or something along those lines. I like a bigger one which has the big space under the seat, so I can put like my camera gear in there and then have a backpack on as well. So that's majority of people who have a vehicle over there have a scooter of some sort generally. I think that's like 90% of people that own vehicles are driving around on scooters, or motorbikes of some sort. For pretty much the whole time that I've been traveling, going through Asia especially anyway, there's a bike made by, originally I think it was made by Honda, called a Honda Cub. And if you're from Australia, it's essentially a postie bike. And all throughout Asia, there's Honda Cubs or knockoffs of variants, like, you know, Yamaha makes something similar. They all the companies make them now, but originally I think it was made by Honda and it was called a Cub. But they have those all over the place. And I remember 25 years ago, whenever it was, when I first went overseas, seeing them and going, man, they are cool. Like, they're not quite a scooter, but they're not quite a motorbike. They're kind of somewhere in the middle. And I liked them back then. I see a lot of people riding around them here in the Philippines as well. But what I really see is I think people buy them, or those type of bikes, well, they do obviously, and then they hot them up, like they do them up. They'll strip them. Some of them are just really well, nicely painted and looked after and made to look really clean. But a lot of them turn them into like these drag bikes where they take the back wheel on the arm there, it's called a swing arm, and they'll take that and they'll put an extended swing arm on so it's longer than the bike, and then they put the wheel on the back of it so the wheel sticks out the back of the bike a bit, which And they use these wheels where they've got the rims are like really highly polished, and sometimes they're like anodized of some sort of color and things like that. They look cool. They look really cool. But instead of having like a big fat motorbike tire on them, they run these super low profile, super slick, like, I don't know if they'd even have air in them. They're like very low profile, like very low. And they look cool. They look really cool. And they put like big exhausts on them, and like all the bolts are anodized different colored bolts. And oh man, they look so good. So good. Anyway, one of the current areas that I was going to on this Bohol trip, I would go there most days and have something to eat, whether it was breakfast, lunch or dinner. I'd go there for one of the meals most days. And I got to know them all pretty well. They were pretty cool people. But two of the guys that worked in the kitchen, they had these bikes. Not quite the full-on crazily, like massively done up ones, but pretty done up and very clean, like really nice looking clean ones. And I remember talking to them about it, and I was like, oh, how much would it cost for one of them? And I might be getting the figures wrong here, but I feel like they said, I feel like it was in total for them to buy one and then do it up to the level of what these ones are. And I'll show you them here, what these ones look like. And they're pretty nice. I think they said it cost them about $2,000. It's like about 2,000 Australian dollars, which would be maybe 70,000 pesos, I guess. That might be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure they said that. Like I remember thinking to myself, wow, some point in time, I'm planning on living in the Philippines. At some point in time, that's going to happen. And when that happens, I am going to buy one of these. I'm not sure that I'll ride it every day because I'm not sure it'd be that comfortable to ride, as a daily thing. But if they're only 2,000 or 3,000, I'm going to buy one of those, and I'm going to do the shit up. I'm going to do it up like crazy and have this amazing shiny look. It's going to be sick. I love it. It's going to be so good. They look so cool. If you're into that sort of stuff, and I am, I just think they're awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of that sort of stuff around. The last ones of those that I saw, I was riding along and I went past a bike shop where it was like a performance bike shop, I think, or performance parts or something like that. And they had one out the front that it looked kind of run down a little bit, but then when you stopped and had a look, I think it might actually be one that they use for drag racing. And they had it in there and they were doing whatever on it. I've got some photos of it there as well. I wouldn't ever, I'm too old and fat for drag racing or anything like that. I just want one which looks sick that I can ride around on from time to time once I'm living over there. But the drag racing ones, that'd be cool. I wouldn't mind going and seeing them race. That'd be pretty cool as well. I think that'd be pretty cool. The other thing that is there that I haven't really talked about, and I don't really know much about it, and it's not, I guess it's a mode of transport. I guess it's a vehicle as well, so you can take it in. But they're local boats. I don't know what they call them. They're almost like a canoe with a motor on the end, and they have an outrigger on either side, or maybe just on one side. They use them for fishing or just getting around places and that. They look cool too. They're usually painted nice colours, and you get them all like on a bay when they're parked, when they're sitting at the overnight or whatever. They're all sitting there lined up. It just looks beautiful. I like those as well. I think there's a photo or a video of them in there as well that I'll show. But that's kind of it. Anyway, that's kind of it. I just wanted to tell you about the story of me basically being scammed, or almost. Keep your eyes out for that if you are ever travelling. It's not just located to Philippines. In fact, it's the only time it's ever come up for me there. But it's a common type of thing that happens throughout Asia. You just got to be safe when you travel. If you're tired, just be a little bit more careful than what I was. Outside of that, I wanted to talk about cars and motorbikes and show you the cool ones I've seen so far. I'll take more photos and videos when I see them on my next travels in a couple of weeks, hopefully. And yeah, thanks for watching.